So it's been almost 2 months now since the announcement that the closed beta and full release had both been delayed, back to July and release back to August. I can't deny at the time I was kind of pretty disappointed that they decided to do the delay, but I think in hindsight it was probably better that they delayed it for 3 months rather than rush and sort of release a half-finished game. But with now only a month or so to go to July, and beta being any time in July, I wanted to catch up kind of with some of the latest information that Amazon have released so far, as well as kind of having a recap of everything we know about the game to date. So what do we know about New World so far, and what is New World? Well, New World is going to be a buy-to-play, large-scale open-world MMO set in the mystical and frankly slightly magical island of Eternum. You're going to start off as a hero with little to no equipment, and you're going to have to fight your way up further inland to towns, build up your glory, build up your equipment, through various PvE quests, PvP, and sort of clan wars, territory war content, and general clan content. To answer one of the more common comments I see, there's not going to be any ongoing subscriptions. Amazon have said they will support the game through microtransactions, but they have committed to stating there won't be any pay-to-win elements. Well, this is something I really hope they're going to end up sticking to. We haven't really seen anything in terms of what they plan with the cash shop. We've not seen any images or interaction with the cash shop or anything like that. So I really hope they stick it to cosmetic only items, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. If you've been following the game for kind of a while now, you know that New World has undergone some pretty big changes over the past year or two. Because obviously the game started out as a sort of a full loot, full PvP, open world survival game. Had a very brutal PvP environment. That is what drew a lot of people to the game. But then after they sort of did quite a bit of extensive alpha testing, they felt that the full PvP mode wasn't going to attract enough players, and they basically did a massive U-turn and are now pursuing sort of a much more classic open world MMO. The PvP has moved to a toggle system, and the emphasis is now more on territory wars and clan events rather than sort of solo player PvP. Kind of understandably, this has created a lot of upset amongst the original players, who are obviously really excited for the more survival elements of the game, and it's sort of created this sort of polarisation in the community, with some people loving the new direction and kind of others absolutely hating it. We can't really yet say if the change of direction was the right or the wrong decision, and perhaps it wasn't handled amazingly, but for me at least, New World is still a game I am excited to play. It's certainly one I can't wait to get stuck into the beta in July, and I'm certainly going to be playing it at release in August. So what core mechanics do we actually know about? Well, we actually know a fair chunk thanks to the developers' blogs and all the news articles. So for example, one area I think which is kind of interesting is that the game is going to be sort of a classless system. So you're not necessarily going to be a tank, or you're not going to be a mage, or you're not going to be a ranged class, because you can take multiple different weapons. So for example, you could take a sword and shield, and then you could also bring a bow, so you could be sort of a ranged melee hybrid. And this is kind of all going to fit into the various weapon skill trees that we know are in the game, and this is kind of how it's going to evolve into this classless system. So you're going to be able to hopefully easily switch between these different weapons to suit your own playstyle. So hopefully there's going to be multiple class combinations through these different weapon choices. Once you've got your weapon selected and have levelled up so far, it seems you're going to have the choice to join one of three factions. You can either join the Marauders, the Syndicate, or the Covenant, and each faction is going to have its own set of principles. So the Marauders are kind of a ruthless military organisation, bent on establishing a free nation where everyone with the strength to prosper can do so. There's going to be the Syndicate, kind of a secretive organisation trying to usher in a new age of enlightenment, and then there's going to be the Covenant, sort of a fanatical religious organisation. Once you pick the faction that you go with, it looks like you're going to be locked into that faction. But that faction is really going to determine everything you do in the game going forwards. It's going to determine the guilds you join, it's going to determine the territories that are friendly, it's going to determine who you fight in PvP. Because you're not going to be able to toggle PvP on or off until you actually have selected a faction, because you will then have the option to fight the other two factions going forwards. And we actually know a fair bit about how the PvP system is going to work in New World. We've had a fair few developer blogs, particularly things like the Call to Arms developer blog, and as we just mentioned a minute or so ago, PvP is going to be conducted via a toggle system, but there are going to be incentives to make sure you want to toggle on. Because if your faction or guild wishes to sort of assault an enemy fortress or try and take land, then first you're going to be required to undermine the area you're attacking by completing certain PvP only missions, i.e. these are missions you are going to be required to have PvP toggled on to complete. And likewise, the defending faction are also going to be able to conduct their own PvP missions to help reinforce their area. And so how it's going to work is by you successfully completing your PvP missions, you're going to undermine an area so much that it gets to a certain level, which then allows you as a faction or a guild to be able to declare an assault on the enemy fortress. So in effect, if you want to be able to take or hold land, you are going to be required to take part in PvP to do so. And given I think that owning land and capturing faction land is going to be where the real sort of money and resources are, then I think this is going to be an essential part of the game. So what actually happens once you've undermined the enemy territory and your guild has declared war? Well, territory wars are going to be the large-scale 50 players versus 50 players siege battles in which the attackers are required to push back the defenders and capture a series of points. Initially, these points will set off outside the wall, and then the attackers are going to have to push through them, over the wall, through the gates, and capture points inside the fort itself. Both sides are going to have access to a pretty large range of siege weapons, from cannons, repeaters, fire droppers, trip mines, gunpowder kegs, all of which can be used to help attack and defend the fort. Ultimately, should the attacker be successful, then the fort and surrounding territory will switch ownership to the new guild and faction. So trying to take control of this territory is going to result in some pretty large scale battles. It is not only enemy players you're going to need to fend off though. We recently had a developer blog posted about invasions, and these are going to be a large scale PvE event where the corrupted are going to launch an assault against your fortress, or the guild's fortress. They are expected to occur around every 4 days and are going to require a full 50 players to help defend. You're going to have to expect and repel waves of corrupted warriors, from grunts to huge bosses that are going to launch themselves at the fortress, and if they breach the gate and destroy the fort control, then the battle is lost and the territory is going to lose some of its upgrades that the players have worked so hard to upgrade. You do, however, get access to a range of siege defences as you do in the territory war, so turrets, traps, bombs, all of which can be used to help defeat the corrupted as they assault your fortress. One area I kind of do dislike about in this game mode though is the fact that currently the fort owner only gets to allocate 20% of the defenders from their own guild. The other 40 players in the battle are all random. And I think given so much is at stake for the owning guild, if the battle is lost, their territory is going to get downgraded, their fortress is going to get downgraded. I would like to see the owner of the fortress having a higher stake, a higher number of players being able to get involved in that battle, because they are the ones with the vested interest in making sure that they win and defeat these invasions. So what about player equipment? Well, we actually know quite a good amount about the item system in New World. We know there's going to be a large range of different cooking recipes and potions, and different food is going to help you heal, increase stamina, carrying capacity, crafting ability and more. And we also see a range of different potions which are going to add or remove effects, as well as providing sort of a quick boost to health. And if you're looking after your character isn't going to be your thing, then you can also just apply a poison to your blade to ensure you get maximum damage against your foes. We also know weapons in New World are going to have 4 levels of rarity based on the number of perks they have, ranging from no perks up to 3. And an example perk might be something like plus 10% fire damage. This is all going to go together to give the weapon then a gear score, and generally a higher gear score equals a better weapon, although that may vary a little bit depending on what foes you're specifically fighting if you want to make sure you can take advantage of certain perks. You may also find that some weapons have the option to socket a gem, and assuming your character is a sufficiently skilled jewel crafter, then you can cut and fit a gem to your weapon to give certain extra character bonuses. Okay, so we know how the weapon system is going to work in New World, but what about armour? Well, the game is going to make use of a 3-stage encumberment system with armour, and those are going to be light, normal and heavy. And with the light state, you're more than likely going to have faster movement speed, better evasion. With the heavy state, you're going to be more cumbersome and slow, but better physical defence. Naturally, if you wear all medium armour, you're going to find yourself in the normal encumberment state, and if you equip all heavy armour, in the heavy encumberment state. However, if you choose to wear all medium armour, and then say 1 heavy armour helmet, you may still find yourself in the normal encumberment state, as it is based on total armour weight, not armour type. There's even a perk to reduce armor weight, which should allow for some pretty good mixing and matching of armor types, so you can get the armor set you desire without moving out of the encumberment state that you want to be in. We can also expect the players to be able to equip a range of carrying bags, trinkets, rings, amulets, and other things to help boost perks, skills, carrying capacity, and really kind of help shape the player's own character. Hopefully this has all gone some way to updating you about the core features we know about New World so far. We could have gone into more details about arenas, corrupted portals, player housing, the guild and governance system, but I didn't want this video to turn into one of sort of pretty epic length, so I think those will have to wait for a future video. It seems that the next developer blog is going to be on crafting, so I'm pretty excited to learn more about that, and maybe we'll have a video on that when that comes out, and I just can't wait to get stuck into the beta when it releases in July. So if you guys have any more questions about the game or the video, please do let me know in the comments down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks for watching guys, subscribe for a load more New World content and I shall see you all on the next video.